long-winded people out of the way. We got a long-winded preacher. I doubt if I'm going to be as short as our previous speakers, although I very much appreciated what each of them said. And I just want to start by saying how pleased we are to be here in solidarity with you, because we too, who work for peace, are working for jobs. We did a rally which Susan and others were at a little over a week ago on the 10th anniversary of the Afghanistan war, and we had 3 photos in the Trenton Times the next day on the front page, which was great. I loved that the thing that they put across the top of the photos, peace and prosperity, because those two things go together. And the way we can create jobs in this country is not only to stop all these draconian cuts, and I don't know where people suddenly became these deficit hawks. Why is the deficit such a big problem? You know, that's a long-term problem, but we don't have any near-term deficit problem. People around the world, China, all over the world are willing, happy in fact, to loan us money. So we don't have any deficit problem right now. We have a jobs problem.
Yes.
And it's about time that Washington started to pay some attention to that. You know, we aren't worried about the deficit right now. We're worried about 25 million, 14 million officially on the unemployed rolls, but really if you count the people that gave up and are discouraged from even looking for work, if you count the people that are underemployed, we're really talking about 25 million Americans that are out of work, that are not adequately employed.
Shameful.
That is not what the American dream is supposed to be about. And we can work together, sisters and brothers. We can work together to turn that around. The first thing is to stop these draconian cuts, to stop this crazy focus on the deficit. That's not our problem in America right now. You know, it's funny how these people who suddenly are all worried about the deficit, well, they weren't worried about the deficit when George Bush was borrowing money to pay for the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. Where were they then? Every single dollar that has been spent on those 2 wars, and we're at about $1.5 trillion right now. We're on our way toward $3 and maybe even $5 trillion for those 2 wars. Where were the deficit hawks then? It seems like they got some kind of selective memory. We can create jobs, and we aren't going to do it by cuts, and we aren't going to do it by tax cuts for the wealthy. That's been tried. I don't know where these people are getting their ideas from. The multinational corporations are sitting on trillions of dollars of assets right now. Literally trillions of dollars. They could create millions of jobs overnight if they decided to spend that money. The reason they're not spending it is because the demand's not there. Why is the demand not there? Because we, the consumers, don't have adequate employment. If you want to create the demand and therefore create the jobs, we need to create jobs for the people. And we can do that. One of the fastest ways we can do that is to cut military spending. You know, we're spending more money on our military, nearly $1 trillion a year if you count everything. We're spending more money on our military. By the way, of that $1 trillion, $200 billion a year right now is for interest on those 2 wars. We're paying $200 billion a year now for interest only on the money we've borrowed for those wars so far. Think about this. Every soldier that we bring home from Afghanistan, we have 100,000 soldiers there right now. Every soldier that we bring home, and I'm going to try to bring it down to the grassroots level here so you can hopefully understand this, saves the taxpayer $1 million. That's what it costs us, over $1 million. Actually, some people say 1.2 million, but let's just play it safe and say $1 million. Now, if we bring that soldier home, that one soldier has lost a job. That's true, although they'll find other work for him or her, I'm sure. But if we reinvested that $1 million instead in creating jobs at home, and let's just take the figure of $50,000 as a reasonably good salary, on average, we could create 20 jobs. So we would have a net gain of 19 jobs for this country. That is the way that we can kickstart our economy. That is the way we can get employment going. Do you know if we brought those 100,000 troops home now instead of waiting another 3 years, which is what President Obama and the Congress want to do, they want to wait until the end of 2014, and God knows if they'll do it by then even.
Yes.
You know, and we'll lose another 1,000 soldiers at least who will be killed, tens of thousands more who will be wounded. God knows how many Afghanis, I can't even count them. So instead of staying there with 100,000 troops for 3 more years, why don't we bring them home now?
Yeah!
Bring them out of harm's way, and do you know how many jobs that would create? That would create 2.5 million jobs right now. 2.5 million jobs. That would make a big dent. If we brought home the 50,000 still in Iraq, as we're supposed to by the end of this year, we'd bring that up to 3.5 million jobs. Now, let me just say a word about this bridge here, because my original undergraduate training was as a civil engineer, actually. So I know a little bit about bridges, all right? The American Society of Civil Engineers, the most prestigious nonpartisan group, says that we have $5 trillion of work waiting to be done right now, shovel ready. All right, we have millions of unemployed construction workers and engineers and people who could do this work. What is lacking? What is lacking is simply the will to make that investment. The will to make that investment, and that's why we're here. We're saying it's time to make that investment. It's time to bring our troops home. War, we want jobs, not wars. Will you join with me? Jobs, not wars. Jobs, not wars. Jobs, not wars. Jobs, not wars. So my prayers, my thoughts are with all of you. They're with all of our unemployed people in our wonderful country, in this great country, the United States of America. We can restore the dream. We can return to our greatness. Right now, the American dream is going downhill fast.
Amen.
You know that since 2007, the average salary, the average household income has fallen by 10%, but not among the wealthy. The wealthy are making out like bandits. It's time to make them pay their fair share, to make Wall Street shape up and pay its fair share, to bring our troops home, and when we do those things, we can create jobs for those 25 million Americans that need them right now. Thank you, and God bless you.